As the idea of democracy, the concept of self-rule that the Greeks had given the world, was being revived in the United States and in Europe, another kind of revolution was changing daily life in England. This was a revolution of industry and economy, a shift from an agricultural economy in which work was done by hand to one dominated by machine manufacturing and mechanical sources of power.
It's one of the two major changes, I think, in the life of our species on this planet. The first one was what you might call the agricultural revolution, about 10,000 years ago, when we changed from being hunters-gatherers to farmers and peasants. The Industrial Revolution changed that. We became, instead of farmers and peasants, we became factory workers and eventually workers in service industries.
The impact of the Industrial Revolution on how people lived and worked would be tremendous, with growing specialization of labor and growing concentration of people in cities.
Time changes. Time as a social institution changes. We pay workers by the hour. We expect the factory to start at a certain time of day and then at a certain time of day. And we begin then to find all of this altering the way of life. And slowly the population shifts from the countryside to the city.
But farm workers and farm families had some control over when they would work, how hard they would work, when they would take breaks. And it's very different in the factory system, where you have production schedules, you have machinery that's operating, you have certain processes that have to be followed in making cotton cloth. So there is this need by factory managers to impose a discipline on workers, requiring them to be at the mill at a certain time, regulating how much time they can take with their meal breaks, all, again, organized around the idea of production for profit.
We get with it another characteristic, not only the division of labor, where certain people do certain things, but the division between place of residence and place of employment. Many people now contend this is the first time that leads to the alteration of a woman's role in the economy. Prior to this point, if the farmer were farming, the wife would be out sewing. She would be making butter. It was a joint operation. Husband and wife worked together. And children did as well, of course. And then we realized with the development of this new society, particularly in the middle classes, the function of the woman is not to keep the ledgers, not to handle the cash box or the cash register, but to maintain the home for the husband who's away from work. And in fact, then, the woman becomes a kind of fixture in the household.
There has been, in some ways, a decline of skill right from the very beginning. The cobbler had a certain amount of skill. When this became a machine for making shoes, there was a lot of skill built into the machine. There was a transfer of skill, if you will, into the machine.
I always tell my students that enter the machines with all their blessings and their curses. I would hate to think of living without it now, but I think the pioneers of the Industrial Revolution, they earned our position with sweat and blood.
The Industrial Revolution helped create the political, economic, and social structures that define our world today. The 20th century would see technological changes occur even more rapidly, and those countries that were most industrialized, like the United States, would become the world powers.